Never say everything that crosses your mind to a woman because certain things can instantly destroy her attraction to you, even if she liked you before. The truth is that attraction isn't just about looks, money, or even your kindness. It's primarily a matter of feeling. And what many men don't understand is that certain phrases, which seem innocent, sincere, or even tender, actually make a woman lose interest very quickly. You see, women are emotional by nature. They feel things before analyzing them. And when you say the wrong thing, you're not just giving her words, you're handing over your power. You're exposing too much of what's going on in your mind, revealing your insecurities and breaking the mystery that attracts her. Because, whether you like it or not, mystery and emotional mastery are what keep a woman captivated. Here's the tricky part. Most men do this with the best intentions. They think they're being open, caring, or romantic, when in reality, they're killing the attraction without realizing it. A man who knows what to keep to himself maintains his influence, his calm, and his masculine presence, even when a woman tests him or pushes him to the limit. That's what separates the men women respect and desire from those they lose all interest in. Welcome to Relationship Psychology, the channel where we explore what really works in relationships and modern dating without sugarcoating reality. If you've ever felt like you said something that suddenly changed a woman's attitude towards you, this video will explain exactly why and how to act differently next time. Stop telling her how lonely you feel. When you confess to a woman how lonely you are, you're not creating a deep emotional connection. You're generating emotional pressure. What you see as vulnerability often looks like dependency to her. And nothing repels a woman faster than the feeling that a man's well-being depends entirely on her. Let's be honest, everyone feels lonely sometimes. But when you start sharing that with a woman you're interested in, it immediately changes how she sees you. She stops viewing you as a solid, fulfilled man enjoying his life and starts seeing you as someone trying to fill a void. Women don't want to be the answer to a man's emptiness. They want to join a man who's already complete, already confident, already at peace with himself. Imagine the scenario. You send her a late-night message saying something like, "Honestly, I feel really lonely when I don't hear from you." You might think you're just being authentic, but to her, that message reveals an emotional need. It gives her the impression that she controls your emotions, and it instantly disrupts the dynamic. Suddenly, you're no longer the man she admired. You become the one who needs her approval to feel better. The reality is that women are attracted to men who have options, a clear purpose, who can stand on their own. When you express your loneliness, she senses that those things are missing, and attraction depends on what she feels, not what you explain. If you want to share your emotions, there's a smarter way to do it. You can show depth without seeming needy. For example, instead of saying, "I feel lonely without you," say, "I enjoy my alone time. It helps me recharge and focus." That's a sign of emotional maturity. It shows you're comfortable in your own world, and she'll naturally want to be part of it. The more you talk about your loneliness, the more you amplify it in your life and in her perception of you. But when you show that you enjoy your own company, that you have your own path, and aren't desperate for connection, women pick up on that energy, and that's exactly the kind of energy that attracts them. So, never tell a woman how lonely you are. Let her feel that you're happy and solid, even in her absence, because the moment she senses your serenity depends on her presence, she starts pulling away. Never admit that you're afraid of losing her. Telling a woman you're scared of losing her might seem honest and sincere, but it destroys attraction faster than almost anything else. Why? Because attraction feeds on confidence and assurance, not fear and uncertainty. The instant you express that fear, you show that she holds control of the relationship and that you've surrendered your emotional power. Here's what most men don't realize. Women sense your emotional energy, even without words. So when you confess your fear, whether verbally or through your actions, it sends a clear message. I need you more than you need me. And that's when a woman unconsciously starts losing interest. Women want to feel chosen by a man who respects himself, not clung to by a man terrified of being left. When you're afraid of losing her, you walk on eggshells, overanalyze every message, and seek her approval without even noticing. You stop being the calm, confident version of yourself that seduced her in the first place. Instead, you react out of fear, and that fear changes everything. The truth is that confidence isn't about pretending you don't care. It's knowing you'll be okay whether she stays or goes. When a woman senses that, she relaxes. She feels safe in your strength, not suffocated by your fear. But the moment she feels you're holding on too tightly, she instinctively pulls away. Not out of cruelty, but because she no longer feels that masculine security that drew her in. you need to understand a fundamental principle of attraction. It builds when she respects you, and respect comes from strength, not weakness. A woman might say she wants a man who opens up emotionally, and that's true. But what she really means is she wants a man who can express his feelings without losing control. So instead of confessing your fear, show your stability. Prove through your actions that you care about her, but that your world won't collapse if she leaves. That doesn't make you distant. It makes you powerful, because the moment a woman realizes you're not afraid of losing her, that's when she starts fearing losing you. Don't share your emotional struggles excessively. There's a huge difference between being emotionally open and being completely exposed. Most men only realize this when it's too late. You think you're building intimacy by revealing every fear, insecurity, and challenge, but in reality, you're removing the mystery and strength that keep her emotionally attracted. Here's a truth few people say out loud: women are naturally attracted to emotionally stable men. That doesn't mean emotionless. It means grounded. You can feel deeply, but you don't let those feelings dominate you. When you start talking too much about your emotional difficulties, like your stress, anxiety, or pressures, you turn her role from romantic partner to therapist. And once that shift happens, attraction fades. Let's be clear, women appreciate emotional honesty, but respect isn't the same as attraction. When you dump too much emotional weight on her, she feels responsible for your well-being. That's not what she wants from a man. She wants to feel that you carry your own load, that you handle life's storms without collapsing. Excessive sharing also removes something essential: your emotional mystery. A woman doesn't need to know every detail of your struggles to feel close. In fact, keeping some things private creates an impression of depth and solidity. She'll admire that you're handling things on your own, and that quiet confidence often makes her feel more secure with you. The problem is that many men have learned that total transparency equals connection. But in relationships and attraction, that's not always true. Too much transparency too soon pushes her to see you as emotionally dependent. Remember, attraction is emotional, not logical. You can talk to her about your intentions, dreams, and purpose. But for your deeper struggles, handle them first with discipline and self-awareness. If you're going through a tough time, lean on your purpose, your friends, your self-esteem, not the woman you're dating. That doesn't make you distant. It makes you strong. And that strength is what makes a woman trust you. Respect your presence and stay attracted. Never tell her you have no other options. One of the fastest ways to destroy a woman's attraction is to make her feel like she's the only one who could want you. You might think saying, "I don't know what I'd do without you," or "You're the only one I can see myself with," sounds romantic or deep. But in her mind, it doesn't create love. It creates pressure. Here's the reality. Women are instinctively attracted to men who are desired by others, who have choices, who select them rather than those who make them feel like their only lifeline. When you reveal you have no other options, you remove what fuels her attraction, your perceived value. Attraction is emotional, not rational. A woman doesn't consciously think she's losing interest because you have no options, but she feels it. She senses you've placed her at the center of your universe, that you've stopped living for yourself, that your life depends on her validation, and that instantly changes the dynamic. Instead of wanting to earn your attention, she feels trapped with it. Women don't want to complete a man. They want to join one who's already complete, a man who's growing, confident, living with purpose. When you exude that energy, attraction naturally arises because it shows independence. But when you directly or indirectly tell her you have no other options, whether romantic, social, or personal, you convey that you've settled into emotional dependency. Here's the truth. Having options doesn't always mean other women. It means having a rich life, goals, friends, passions, self-respect, and boundaries. A woman feels more attracted when she senses you could walk away if needed, not because you're cold, but because you value yourself. Don't complain about how women have treated you. Nothing drains a woman's attraction faster than hearing a man constantly complain about how women treat him. You might think you're just being honest, venting past experiences, or showing her you've been hurt. But what she really hears is bitterness, frustration, and a victim mentality. And as soon as a man starts looking like a victim, attraction begins to die. Here's what you need to understand. Women are emotionally attracted to strength, not perfection, but resilience. When you complain about the unfairness of women toward you, you show that others' actions still control your emotions. You're indirectly telling her you haven't moved past your pain and are still trying to make sense of it through her. That doesn't inspire attraction, it creates emotional distance. Imagine the scene. You're with a woman, and the conversation turns to relationships. You start saying things like, I've been used before, or women play too many games these days. You think you're being realistic, but to her, it doesn't sound like confidence. It feels like you're carrying old, unhealed wounds. And when a woman picks up on that energy, she doesn't feel safe opening up. She fears ending up blamed for something she didn't do. Strong men don't complain about what went wrong. They learn from it. They can acknowledge their past, but don't live in it. They know not all women are the same and don't let bad experiences make them bitter or closed off. That calm, grounded, aware energy is what women find irresistible. When you talk too much about how women treat you, you also reveal that you're focused on them instead of yourself. And the more you focus on what others did wrong, the less power you have over your own life. A man in control doesn't waste energy complaining. He uses it to improve, set higher standards, and attract better relationships. Stop constantly seeking reassurance. One of the most subtle attraction killers in any relationship is when a man continually seeks reassurance from a woman. It doesn't always seem obvious. It can come out as, "Do you still like me? You seem less interested lately," or even subtler questions like, "Are you sure you're happy with me?" These come from insecurity. And insecurity, even expressed softly, slowly erodes attraction. Here's the truth. Women don't want to reassure a man. They want to respect him. A man who constantly needs confirmation starts seeming unsure of himself. And when a woman feels that, she starts doubting emotionally. Because for her, a man's confidence is what made her feel secure. When that confidence wavers, her feelings follow. The irony is that most men do this because they care about the relationship. They just want to feel connected, valued, and desired. But when that care turns into emotional dependency, it loses all appeal. Every time you ask her to validate you, you're unconsciously sending the message that you doubt your own worth. And that instantly shifts the dynamic. Instead of feeling attracted, she feels responsible for your emotional stability. And once she carries that responsibility, attraction fades. Because now, instead of being your lover, she becomes your emotional caretaker. That's not sexy. It's exhausting. A woman feels more connected to a man who already knows who he is, with or without her. A man who doesn't chase reassurance because he's grounded in his value. When you stop seeking reassurance, you communicate something powerful. You're emotionally stable, you trust yourself, and you don't need constant proof of her feelings to know you're enough. Women naturally test men, not to hurt them, but to feel their emotional solidity. They might go quiet, pull back, or act distant for a while. It's not always a sign of disinterest. Sometimes they just want to check if your confidence stays intact, even in uncertainty. If your immediate reaction is to seek reassurance, you fail that test without realizing it. But if you stay calm, centered, and serene, she feels safe again because your energy says, "I'm good no matter what." That's the kind of man women never tire of. The one who doesn't need to ask, "Do you still love me?" because his presence already earns that love without words. The power of silence. What you don't say often matters most. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can offer a woman is silence. Silence isn't weakness, it's control. It shows you don't react to every emotion, that you don't need to justify yourself constantly, and that your value doesn't depend on her approval. Most men underestimate the strength of silence, especially when emotions are high. They talk too much, explain too much, and end up giving away all their power through words. Here's the reality. Women sense your energy more than they listen to your words. When she pulls away, tests you, or tries to provoke a reaction, she's not always looking for what you'll say. She's watching how you'll respond. If you stay calm, grounded, and silent when it matters, she feels your strength. But if you rush to defend yourself, over-explain, or chase her emotionally with words, she feels your fragility. Silence creates emotional space. It gives her room to miss you, to reflect, and to reconsider her behavior. When you talk nonstop or try to fix everything with words, you take away that space. And instead of earning her respect, you come across as emotionally needy. Here's what can be hard to hear. Sometimes men talk too much because they can't handle uncertainty. They want to clear up every misunderstanding immediately to make sure she still likes them, to smooth out every tension. But that constant need to fix things with words often backfires. Because attraction isn't built on explanations, it's built on emotion. And silence conveys emotional mastery in a way words never can. Think about it. A man who can stay silent when a woman pulls away communicates one thing: I don't chase peace. I am peace. That energy makes her question herself. It makes her think about you. It makes her feel the weight of your absence. But a man who reacts immediately, argues, or begs loses that magnetic pull. This doesn't mean becoming cold or detached. It means knowing when to speak and when to hold back. You express yourself with intention, not impulse. You listen more than you defend. You hold your frame even when emotions rise. That's true masculine calm. Attraction isn't built mainly on what you say, but on what you hold back. Most men lose women not because they're bad guys, but because they talk until they extinguish her desire. They over-explain, over-confess, over-express, and in doing so, they strip away the mystery, calm, and strength that make a woman feel safe and attracted. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to hide all your emotions, but you do need to develop emotional mastery because, in a woman's world, confidence is quiet and insecurity is loud. The man who knows when to speak and when to hold back, who doesn't need constant reassurance, who doesn't confess his fears or loneliness just to be validated. That's the man who keeps her respect and attraction. Here's a truth that might sting. Women don't fall in love with men who need them. They fall in love with men who choose them without losing themselves in the process. So, if you've ever caught yourself saying things that seemed sincere but pushed her away, take this as your wake-up call. Watch your words. Preserve your emotional energy. Let your presence speak louder than your need to explain. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever said something to a woman that seemed to change how she acted toward you? Share your experience in the comments below. I'll read them and respond because this is the kind of conversation every man needs to have. Stay sharp. Ajoutez au chat 2 communines.